Welcome into another edition of let me start it again. Got off to a bad start, just like Atlanta United did on Saturday, Tommy. Let's try that again. Welcome to another edition of the Scarves and Spikes player ratings show for Nashville SC's 3-1 win over Atlanta United on Saturday. My name is Sydney Hunt. With me is Tommy Moose. Hey, Tommy.
What's up?
All right. That sounded better than Atlanta United looked on Saturday, I think. Would you agree?
It was rough. It was rough. We'll throw it back here because real quick, but we right before we started this, Sydney messed our name up, but don't worry, Apple also messed our name up as well. But what a shout out! What a shout out! That was great.
Got to give Mr. Jake Ziva the 10. Had a great time with him on Thursday. Tyler and I did. By the way, Tyler won't be able to make it this time around. He'll be back with us on Wednesday, of course, for the main show. But yeah, Jake gave us the shout out on the broadcast on Saturday regarding our discussion about Mouse Robinson and whether he should be a DP. And yeah, a lot of fun. I was at the match personally, so I didn't hear it live, but a lot of you.
I don't think any of us did.
Yeah. Yeah,
I was at a bar watching it, so I couldn't listen to it. You were at the game. Tyler was in the middle of the woods doing a man trip or something, so maybe he was going after bears. I don't know what, but he made it back alive, so he'll be here on Wednesday.
Yes, he will. Yes, he will. But yeah, you all shout us out on Twitter. By the way, follow us at Scarves, the letter N, Spikes. Like and subscribe to us on YouTube, of course. And follow us on Patreon. Join us on Patreon, I should say. Patreon.com/Scarves and Spikes. Where we now, Tommy, have a new 117th tier for 117 a month. See what we did there?
I get it.
Huh? You got it?
It took me a minute, but I figured it out.
Okay. Cool. All
right. We got to talk about the game, I guess.
Shall we get into it?
Sure.
Rather hesitantly, let's get into it. First player we're going to talk about, and by the way, I moved, as you all know, and I lost my dry erase marker, or Sharpie, whatever you call it. But Tommy has his, so I'll just kind of speak mine out. The first player we're going to get into is Matheus Rossetto. Matheus Rossetto.
This music in the background is I feel like I'm at a game show right now, and I'm about to screw it up and lose a bunch of money. So I'm very nervous this time around.
You're good.
All right,
you got yours.
Yeah,
show it. A 5. Okay. You say
what
5.
Do you give him?
Probably around that, a 5. Yeah. Why don't you go first? Why don't you say why you rated him a 5?
It's just very average. The midfield just doesn't look right when Sosa and Rossetto are playing together. I was upset immediately when the lineups came out. I was hoping Sadich was going to play. I think the offense just looks so much better when he's there. But just there were certain opportunities where he had the chance to move the ball forward, didn't pass sideways or pass backwards, which is a Rossetto special for me. And I haven't been a fan besides maybe that game and a half where I think he scored a goal, and I think he also had an assist in one of them. But other than that, he just hasn't been it for me this year.
Yeah, very, very regressive showing, and I bet you can say that for a lot of the Lady United players on Saturday. Matt Doyle called it out on Twitter on Saturday. I think it was Sosa. Yeah, it was Sosa that checked behind his shoulder 4 times to make sure that Rossetto was in position for a pass or a dummy. I forget what it was. And Rossetto was just going in a totally opposite direction than he should have been. Look, I mean, the midfield has just struggled. Struggled on Wednesday against Memphis 901 in the Open Cup, and struggled again on Saturday. But Rossetto, like I said, just a regressive showing. He looked to be in pretty good form to start the season. I don't know, maybe that's the bias of Atlanta the Wiz probably peppering over the cracks a little bit or something like that. But I thought he looked pretty decent to start the year. But Saturday, just a step back. He had a few good moments here and there, but he wasn't able to sustain those good moments throughout the match, and that's part and parcel to why Atlanta United lost on Saturday, to the extent that it did. So I'll say, yeah, probably fair 5.
Do you think that Pineda finds Rossetto more valuable or a better fit than Sadich, or do you think that like he likes him more? Because I know he says he's a captain. He was a captain for a couple games.
Yeah.
He's a leader, but I'm not seeing it on the field at all with him. I'm still upset that when they had the chance to let him go and they decided to keep him for the year.
Yeah, I don't see it either. I mean, I think Joe Patrick wrote about it on Dirty South Soccer earlier today on Monday. LA United don't have that leader, that Lorenowitz type, that Parkhurst type that can organize things when LA United get in trouble, and Rossetto certainly isn't it. I've mentioned before, I don't agree with how Pineda picks his captains. I surely think Bells Robinson was the easy choice for captain on Saturday, but outside of that, last year he made some questionable choices for captain. Rossetto was one of them, and they could say something to the effect of, okay, Rossetto's been here for a while, in relation to how long other players have been with Atlanta United. And again, just don't agree with the reasoning back then, but that was last year. But yeah, again, I don't really look to him as a leader. I mean, he's just there, unfortunately, and he didn't live up to the billing on Saturday, and outside of a few matches at the beginning of the season, he hasn't largely for the entire season. So I mean, maybe we see Sadich on next Saturday against Inter Miami in an attempt to shake things up, because LA United the season isn't over yet. I mean, they aren't out of the playout hunt by any stretch of the imagination, but if things will buckle down soon, they'll be treading water in short order. But yeah, any final thoughts on Rossetto?
My 5 is basically his entire time playing for Atlanta United. It might actually be a 4 if from there, but he's just an average MLS player at this point, getting paid above average MLS salary.
Yeah. So looking up on FOTMob, and we'll read off the FOTMob ratings as we normally do. FOTMob gave him a 6.1, which I thought maybe flattered him just a bit, but sort of, I think, in line with what we were thinking for him. So 6.1 from FOTMob. Moving on to his partner in the midfield, Mr. Santiago Sosa. What does that mean?
I don't know. Well, we were talking about this before the show. It's like, do you just kind of do the midfield together? Because it kind of just seemed like all the same, but yeah, I'll go a little. All right. I'm ready.
What you got?
A 6.
I was actually thinking 6 too, to be honest with you. I'll start us off. It wasn't a terrible performance, but it wasn't a great performance. You need your midfield to do much better, especially with the quality of player that Nashville have. I'll throw this out there. Nashville hadn't scored 3 goals all season. Going into the match, they scored 8 goals in MLS play, and they hang 3 at Atlanta United. So Wes Bowling, who was their radio voice for the first few years, or were the radio voices, I should say, was tweeting it out. Nashville had a lot of room in the defensive midfield, and that's where you need your Sosas to really buckle down there and take that space away, take those opportunities away from Nashville to move the ball forward and get those attacking chances. And like I said, this was a team coming in that hadn't scored a ton, 8 goals in 9 matches leading into Saturday, and again, putting up 3 in one day against Atlanta United. So, just again, I don't say that Sosa had a terrible performance, because he had some moments of quality, but just not good enough altogether. And I think for the most part, a 6 kind of is right around what he deserves. I'm not going to go out there like some fans that say, "Oh, they all deserve was," or "They all were terrible." I mean, they all weren't terrible, but they just weren't good enough. So I think it's a 6 for me.
Yeah, I don't think it's working. The Sosa experiment is working like we were hoping it was going to. Unfortunately, he came into this team looking very good, and then once the injury happened, he really just hasn't done anything for Atlanta United, and it's been just a lot of mediocrity across the board with him. And maybe they just don't have someone to match with him in the midfield that like have a good combination, but it's not there. It seems like the only thing that's working is Ibarra and Sejdic. Like if you have Ibarra, Sejdic out there together, things are fine. If you have to move on from that, it's going to be trouble. And I understand why they didn't do Ibarra because he played so much in the Open Cup game. But I think that's what we've been saying on the show. Like the depth on this team is lacking mostly. And if you have to get away from your one thing that works, you're going to get in trouble. And we've been getting away from it over the past couple of games because of injuries and man management. And it's been going downhill. So like you said, maybe next week you get the Ibarra Sejdic experience in Miami and you get back to playing the way that you were playing early on in the season.
Going back to Matt Doyle, and we mentioned Doyle earlier, but he tweeted out on Saturday, you still think Sosa will be real good in this league if Atlanta compare him with someone else. And again, really speaking volumes to this midfield, this Rossetto Sosa midfield that, didn't get the job done on Saturday, hasn't really got the job done a whole lot this season. Again, a few moments of quality here and there, but just not anything sustainable. Again, not terrible, but still, you need much more from him. So, yeah, that is the Sosa story. And FOTMob, going back to FOTMob rated him a 7.
Okay.
So, again, maybe a little bit flattering considering the scoreline, but yeah.
We're one below each one.
Yeah, one below each one so far. Our next one, we're going to combine into one because Machop Chol started as the striker, the number 9, and then he gave way for Miguel Berry later on. So we're going to combine Chol and Berry together. So, yeah.
Frowny face.
4 frowny face. Oh yeah. I mean, maybe 4.5 or so. No better than a 5. I mean, why a 4?
You just knew it wasn't going to happen with these guys. I mean, Chol had a couple of moments in the Open Cup game that you saw as playing, or not Open Cup, I'm sorry, of the AmFam Cup where he played striker before he went down in that game, and you've seen what Barry has performed at striker position. I just knew this wasn't going to end up working out, and Chol wasn't really even playing as a 9 or I don't know what really position he was at times. He was all over the place. He was on the wing. It was very curious on what their plan was with him, but it wasn't working at all. You didn't see him have any chances. And then Barry comes in and maybe makes a little bit more room for other players out there. And maybe I think they respected Barry a little bit more than Chol, but I know backup strikers aren't always very productive. And you were hoping that Barry was going to be the Barry that was from Columbus, where he came in and Zardes got hurt and he lit it up there for a while. But is it a Barry problem, or is it a Atlanta United just another striker that they really can't get any service into? Because that's where I've been still trying to figure it out. Like, is Giakoumakis that good? And I think we're starting to figure out that answer here. But is he that good that despite what the team is providing him at times, he can make things work?
Yeah. I'm almost thinking that, why not just bring Jackson Conway back from Phoenix and put him out there? I mean, whatever they've done hasn't worked as on Giakoumakis. And We saw this with Joseph when he was here to some extent. Where's that secondary scoring going to come from for Atlanta United? Looks like Almada to some extent, and we'll talk about him a little bit later on. But outside of that, Barry, you mentioned that run he had with Columbus. Outside of that, he's done nothing really. And he eventually went to DC, and he made his way to Atlanta. And yeah, I can see why Atlanta brought him in based off what he did in Columbus, but that's getting farther and farther and farther in the rearview mirror, and we're not seeing anything from him that suggests that he could be a quality player for Atlanta United. Maybe he flips the switch against Miami if he starts, and if Giakoumakis isn't available. I don't know, but this is kind of focusing more on Barry than Chol, but in my eyes, I think Barry is your number 2 striker at this point for what it's worth. That being said, he just doesn't show the quality. He just doesn't show that ruthlessness that you want in a striker. You know, he hasn't really shown the ability to challenge for balls in the air, and I think part of it is too. You know, they aren't able to get him service, and you know, here we are again talking about this for Atlanta United, who's their backup, but they need some scoring. They need something out there when Giakoumakis isn't available. They need something out there when teams inevitably will double team Almada and try to get him out of the game and put him in their pocket essentially. So disappointing. Chol, I don't know if he's quite the skill set that you look for in a striker. I mean, he's tall and you can't teach size obviously, but again, I look at Barry maybe as that second option, that striker for what it's worth. So yeah.
Well, I was to say, what a terrible time for Eric Lopez to get injured, right?
I know. Yeah, absolutely.
I feel like this was an opportunity for him to be able to prove his worth, because he's been doing decently well with the twos. He's getting consistent playing time for the first time in 2 years, and he's scored a couple goals. I think one was a penalty and one was in play. But if there's a chance for this guy to come in and make some type of move, I think that this weekend would have been it. And unfortunately, he gets injured. And you got to respect the club for trying to address this. They went out, they took a chance on Barry, who's still, like, he's not an expensive backup. He's a free agent at the end of the year. So if it's not working out, you move on from him, and no harm, no foul, no long-term contracts or anything like that. But Eric Lopez is still signed past this year, and it would have been nice just to be able to see if he was going to be able to do anything. But unfortunately, we didn't get him in the Open Cup game. We didn't get him on Saturday. So I guess we'll just have to dream of what could have happened with him.
Yeah. Hopefully he's not injured for a long period of time. Hopefully Giakoumakis is injured for a long period of time. So take a look at Chol. Fatma gave him a 6.1 and gave Barry a 6.2. So
keeping that trend.
Yeah, exactly. Keeping the trend. Last one for today is Thiago Almada. All right, ready?
Yep.
7. I was gonna say, around 7. So we're kind of thinking on the same wavelengths today. Scored from the penalty spot. Got himself in some advanced areas sometimes, but not really showing the same level of play that we saw before the international break. And Pineda said, he's young, he still has room to grow, and there's a lot of hype for him, obviously, going into the international break, and for good reason, of course. But I don't know, maybe not his. We aren't seeing the best version of Almada at this current point in time. I don't know if it's because of the knock he picked up, the injury that he's kind of carrying, or what. But I mean, he still was able to get into some advanced spots and show some really good ball movement and attempt to make things happen. But unfortunately, outside of that penalty, which was, thanks to VAR, called thanks to VAR. Yeah, not a ton that you expect from him. I mean, not to say that was a bad game, but maybe it's a little bit notch lower than what we saw before the international break. Terrific penalty. Willis really left with no chance to save that, so terrific from the spot. But yeah, maybe a little below kind of the standard that we expect him. I don't know. Am I judging him too harshly, or?
I think that the game plan for the day and even the players that are surrounding him, it just overall just didn't look cohesive. Yeah. I guess is the best word for it. Like the game just the team all just didn't seem like they were on the same page, especially early on. And again, that has a lot to do with the midfield. And Almada should be focusing on moving forward, and he's moving back a little bit more, not being able to do what makes this team better. Yeah. And I think that's what's most frustrating, which is, why I was, on Twitter Day, it's like you have to address, like if you're going to keep Almada, which again, we don't even know if that's even a possibility here after the summer, you have to address this midfield because it's hurting everybody around them. It's hurting, the defense because they're not doing a very good job and they're just cutting through Sosa at times, especially when it's like a Sosa and Ibarra backfield. I mean, the wings aren't getting a lot of service because Almada's back trying to help the midfield. It's a problem altogether with what's there. And I think I have to blame Pineda on some of this as well. It's just, I don't know if the game plans have been there. And, there's a lot of criticism and, watching back your guys' show on Thursday, like everybody was attacking Pineda. Not much on the players at all, which I think is not fair. 100% not fair. It's a combination. But before I was leaning towards like a 60-40, 60 on the players, 40 on the coaching staff. But I'm starting to lean more to a 50-50 at least, maybe even just a little bit more with Pineda, because I think you have to be able to get creative on a game plan when you have other players out. And I don't see the creativity to be able to fill in when an Almada or a Giakoumakis are out. And I think that's something that they've got to get figured out as well. And again, he's a young coach, but you're a young coach coaching one of the best clubs in the world. Yeah. And I think that you've got to figure it out sooner than later.
Yeah. And again, Almada, he's a talented player. I think he'll figure it out. But again, it is his ankle injury that he's been carrying for a little bit. Again, is that causing him a little bit of more discomfort than, he's letting on. But yeah, no, I agree with you. What is Pineda doing to raise the level of not just Almada's play, but the entire team's play? What is he doing tactically to put Almada in those spaces to dictate the play and cost those scoring chances, even more of those scoring chances, so you don't get another situation like you did against Memphis where you score one goal, just completely shut down and then end up losing the game, or you go down 2-0 against Nashville, having to chase the game, you get the penalty and have to try to press for an equalizer, but not showing a lot of urgency outside of that. And it's kind of a pattern that we've seen with this team of late. And again, hopefully it's something that they solve quickly and solve efficiently, because you can't afford to continue to drop points and let yourself drop even further down the standings. I mean, you're still in third in the East, which is good, but excuse me, at the same time, it doesn't get easier. I mean, Miami are struggling, but you're not going to play Miami. You're not going to play easy clubs all season. That's not to say Miami is going to be an easy match, because you don't want to take Miami lightly. They're coming off a win. But at the same time, after that, who do you have? You have Charlotte, who are struggling, granted. And then you have Colorado. You go to Chicago, Orlando. You go to Orlando. You have New England at home to wrap up the month. Then you go to LAFC. So you can see where the urgency starts to come to focus a little bit more the further you get into the season.
Yeah, and we didn't bank points early last year. And like we had a very easy schedule last year. And I think everybody was like, bank the points, it'll be easy start, and then we'll be fine at the end. Well, at the end, we didn't bank any points. So we actually had to win a lot of games at the end of last year. And that's why it didn't work out. So you're at a point right now in the season where it's still early, you're still trying to figure things out, but you've got to stay alive to at least get to the summer transfer window in the middle of or beginning of January, and then make some moves here, because I mean you're not going to be able to bring anyone else in here. So unless you call some players up, temporarily to play in that midfield, this is what you have. You got to hope that they stay healthy, and you got to hope that you don't have to maybe do too much man management. I know there's not a ton of midweek games. You're out of Open Cup. So if there's one thing you could say about this Open Cup loss is you do not have as much man management issues until you get, till more to the end of the season, where they kind of compact a little bit more of the year. So you're okay here. I think this is actually going to help, because we've said we have one of the best starting lineups when healthy. We're not healthy right now. We're struggling. And that's what we've just got to get used to here. And hopefully they're able to fix some of these mistakes, or not mistakes, but holes in this roster in the summer. Yeah.
And so going back to Almada, just to wrap it up, he got an 8 on Fat Mob. So it's fair. So we were one off, Tommy. All of them essentially 1 or 1.5 points off on all of them.
Wow.
I didn't read Fat Mob, by the way. I know you didn't either. So
no.
I guess great minds, right? Great minds.
I think we've been pretty consistent. We've since we started this, we've been pretty a little bit below each one every time.
Yeah.
I have something for you to rate, because I've heard a lot of things about the Nashville experience. What was your experience with the stadium in general?
So, excuse me, it wasn't my first time at Geodis Park. I've been there in the press box last year. I told you guys about that. That was a match that was delayed because of lightning. But the ground itself is great. It's a beautiful stadium. My girlfriend, my dad were talking about it. What a great stadium it was. Just not a ton around it, but you can see that there are different things like apartments and different things running up around it. That I think within the next 3 to 5 years, it'll be a much different atmosphere and much different environment than you have right now. The one thing that is the downside is kind of the walk to the parking lot. That can be a little long. So I can imagine the heat that could be a little bit of a stretch. I imagine it's kind of the same with Mercedes-Benz, but yeah, great atmosphere, great crowd, and bad loss, obviously, but a great experience. Good experience.
A lot of fans travel, I assume.
Yeah, a ton of fans traveled, and I put it on my Twitter at SHWrites, video of the fan experience. Great amount of fans that showed up, and shout out to them. I give them a perfect 10. But yeah, a great experience. Couldn't get the win, obviously, but yeah, good to get out there to Nashville.
Seems like the free tickets for season ticket holders is really working out.
Yeah,
because you're seeing, it seems like more fans are traveling. Like you see it more on Twitter, Facebook. Mm-hmm. I mean, that game in Columbus, usually there's like 15 to 20 fans. When we were there, at the beginning of the season, there was probably 50 or 60, the most I've ever seen there. So It's obviously working, and it's getting fans to travel more.
Yeah, that's awesome. And hopefully we see that a little bit more against Miami, and that continues against Miami. And most importantly, let's hope for a win against Miami. And Joseph Martinez, who is on the bench apparently, in place of Leo Campana, or being replaced by Leo Campana. So
I'll have to bring the Joseph candle out. The candle, Joseph Candle 2.
Joseph Candle Dos. Yeah. But Yeah, we'll certainly talk about it, I'm sure, on Wednesday. Hey, follow me at SH Wright. Follow Tommy at Tommy ATL96. Follow Tyler at ATL Pilgrim on Twitter. As always, like and subscribe. Comment below with your thoughts, your input on our ratings. Give us your own ratings. And again, patreon.com/Scarves and Spikes. 3 tiers, 117 tier, $5, $10 a month tier. All the information is there. But yeah, thanks for joining us for another player ratings episode, I should say. For Sydney, for Tyler, Tommy.
You know who we are.
Yeah, you know who we are. Thanks everyone. We'll see you.
Have a good night.